All right, it's recording. Here we go. Welcome to the Balanced Growth Show. I'm your host, Dr. Travis Parry. Today we have a special guest, Damon Burton. Nearly 20 years ago, this husband and father of three beat a billion-dollar company by outranking their website on Google. Since then, he knew he was onto something and went on to author a best-selling SEO book and build an international search engine marketing company that's worked with Tony Robbins, Russell Brunson, NBA teams, and Inc. 5000 and Shark Tank featured businesses. Welcome, Damon, to the show.
What's up, Travis? Thanks for having me. Glad we could make it happen.
Absolutely, I've enjoyed getting to know you and a little bit about the skater dude behind the mic here today. Talk to us about your story, though. How did you get to where you are today with SEO? Like, how did this stumbling happen?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of, in retrospect, a lot of interesting uh, trajectory lines along the way. So I'll give you the shortest, bestest, medium, non-long, long intro that I can give because there's a lot of pathways. So I started by following my entrepreneurship career based on a passion. So I used to be big into cars, and I started a car enthusiast website, and that website ended up kind of growing into a couple thousand active members. So from there, I said, okay, well, how do I make this better? And that's how I started Learn Design. And then I said, how do I monetize this? And that's how I started Learn Marketing. Along the way, had a couple interesting projects. One you touched on, which I'll go deeper on, which was I outranked ABC for The Bachelor. My wife was watching The Bachelor finale and said, hey, come watch this with me. And uh, what they did that was interesting that year is usually they leave a cliffhanger, right? And it's like, come back in a couple of weeks and see who the new guy is. And this time they said, come back after the commercial break. And I said, I don't, I know I'm new to entrepreneurship, but I know enough that that was intentional, but I don't know why. So they come back and they announce this guy named Andy Baldwin. And so I'm trying to look up this guy and go, what's different here? And I could find surprisingly little about this guy. So I got thinking, well, if I understand search engines and I can't find him and I'm not a diehard, and there are people that do not understand search engines that are diehards and they can't figure this out, why don't I solve that problem for them? So I ended up making this website within a couple days, outranked The Bachelor. ABC's a billion-dollar company. And then I took that and did the same thing at the car enthusiast world. There's a gigantic show, if any of you are into cars, called SEMA that's down in Las Vegas. And I outranked SEMA. Got a cease and desist from them. And I said, okay, lesson learned. And from then I kind of figured like, okay, I think I'm onto something. And so where I went full board into entrepreneurship is the company I was working for. You and I chatted, we're both here in Utah. I was working remotely for a company in Las Vegas. And one day I couldn't get a hold of anybody. Come to find out, they got raided by the ATF and the FTC and the sheriffs. Got shut down, guns drawn, like the whole nine. And so I had three choices, and it was wait to see if I still had a job, or go find another job, or bet on myself. And so I chose the latter and took the side clients that I had and dedicated my time to it. And 17, 18 years later, ended up being the right choice.
That's fascinating. I mean, maybe not the guns drawn and everything, but wow, what a story. Yeah, you could have gone other directions. You chose to go entrepreneurship. How has that ended up for you? Tell us a little bit about your business. Tell us about what you're doing, how you're helping business owners now.
Yeah, so what we do is we focus on getting clients higher on Google and search engines for words that they can monetize, but the difference is we do it without paying for ads. So like you touched on, we worked with cool people like Tony Robbins, Russell Brunson, worked with NBA teams, and then we've worked with like a lot of, probably my favorite stories are the mom and pops. We've taken a lot of businesses from literally kitchen tables and backyard garages to 50,000 square foot warehouses doing multi-millions a year. So it's been really cool seeing how other people find success and other industries are out there that you probably wouldn't immediately think of. But even if you did think of, you wouldn't realize at the scale in which people could find success in them. So I think that's why I like SEO because it's consistent enough that I know what I'm walking into every day, but it's always something different at the same time. So it keeps your attention. There's different industries, there's minor changes on search engine algorithms, things like that. So it's held my attention for a long time. I mean, I'm walking into year 18, got a team of about 40. We do a few $1 million a year, and it's just been built off all word of mouth and organic and results. We don't run any ads ourselves. Practice what we
Yeah.
preach. So it's been fun.
I was going to ask you, do you guys, advertise for that? And you just answered that question. So talk to us, that we're all business owners. We all want to grow. If you're not growing, you're dying. Right. And the name of this show is Balanced Growth. We want to focus on how are we doing this in a balanced way, which we'll get to in a second. But talk to us, why is SEO better than ads?
I won't stake my claim that it's better than ads, but I will tell you the pros and cons, right? Because I think any form of marketing has its opportunities, and I think that's one of the toxic things in the world of marketing is everybody's like throwing rocks at each other. And so I think there's opportunities in any of them. With paid ads, the opportunities are speed. That's relative, right? Like you can get an ad account up and running in a day or two, but it doesn't mean you monetize in a day or two. You're still burning money for 30 to 60 days just to figure it out. Or organic is, the pros and cons of organic are the opposite of paid ads. So SEO is slower, but where most people fail to communicate why it's slower, there's a lot of generalizations that SEO takes a year, which is true. But the reason why it takes a year often isn't communicated. And what that is I like to explain it as progress versus monetization. And so the difference is progress you can see pretty quick. You could see it in a couple months, potentially in a couple weeks. But what that is let's say your website's showing up on page 10 of Google and now you move to page 8. Then you move to page 5, then you move to page 3. So you can make massive jumps, but you're not monetizing it because nobody goes past page 1. So that's the difference. You can see progress quickly, but you don't monetize it until you hit page 1. So you can run either. You can run in parallel. A lot of times you can run paid ads in the beginning, get some cash flow. But I think probably my favorite difference is the wild card of SEO, because with paid ads, it's like a dollar in, $2 out. It's very transactional. Dollar in, $2 out. Then at scale, it drops a little bit, maybe a dollar in, $1.50 out. And at some point, you reach a point of dilution where it's like a dollar in, $1.10 out. And so it's just a volume game. With SEO, it's the total opposite. It might be a dollar in, nothing out, and then a dollar in, nothing out. But then all of a sudden, you hit page 1 and it's a dollar in, $1,000 out. And so it's exponentially higher if you have the patience and cash flow to get it there.
Sounds fascinating. I think a lot of people, a lot of business owners I work with who are trying to maximize their time, will start off organic at first, and then will want to move to some sort of automation or pay for play type of interaction for whatever service or opportunity that they're offering their clients, even if it's a product, whatever. But I never thought of SEO as being an exponential increase. I think that's fascinating.
Hmm.
Most of my clients and probably people that are listening provide some sort of service that, their financial planning, mortgage, real estate, coaching, consulting, and a lot want to be, a thought leader in their space, in their niche. So, they may have a book or they may be speaking on stage. How important is SEO for those types of individuals who, really need, even myself, I've written my second book. I'll be doing another book soon enough.
Hmm.
How does that really help? And can that be something exponentially increasing over time with SEO?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple different demographics you're talking about there in different verticals, but they can also support each other. So a lot of times you can have, especially like in the coaching space, maybe you run ads to get the initial exposure, but the people don't buy on that first ad. So the first distinct difference is with paid ads, you're stereotyping an avatar. With organic, you're solving pain points and problems. Like they're actively going out and searching a thing that says, I need to fix this, or I want this thing, I have a desire. With paid ads, you're going, well, my audience is generally male or female, they're generally in this age group, they're generally this, they're generally that. And so it's not going off of a pain point or a need. You're just stereotyping and going, it's a numbers game. If I target that audience, some of them will come through. So your buyer intent is a lot higher on organic. And because they have a pain point and a need, you generally have higher conversion rates. And so there's all these other advantages here, but they can support each other. So maybe they don't know about you. And so your ad exposes them to you. But then SEO may not bring that initial lead in that case, but it'll close it because then they go search your name and look if you're legit. And if you haven't done SEO, then your name doesn't show up, your positive reviews don't show up. You just kind of leave it to chance. So there's a lot of different variables. Like you could have SEO be your direct source of lead generation and sales, or you could have it be a supporting factor to back up and close the deals that your paid ads expose the people to.
Yeah, I mean, we live in instant answers and technology. You're exactly right. So even if you are running ads or you're doing other promotion, people are just going to see if you're legit.
Yeah,
There's no question. Fascinating stuff. And I know we could spend hours talking just about SEO and how this works. And I might bug you a little bit more on this as well
yeah.
as we're talking. So talk to us a little bit about your family. I mean, I see on the wall there's a sign that says Super Dad. I love it. I know we've talked to, pre-show about, you spending a lot of time with your kids, taking them on dad days, days away, doing these things with your family, with your wife. You're big on keeping your priorities. So talk to me about how are you able, as you're growing and scaling, you've got a business of 40 plus. Tell me about, what do you do? How do you keep your sense of balance? How do you keep those priorities top?
Well, I'll tell you the only one I feel confident on is family. The rest is equally chaotic, right? Like your personal stuff. And so it's, family I've always prioritized. And how do you do it? Well, it's exactly that. You prioritize. And so for me, it's probably been an evolution, way back before we had kids. So my wife and I have been together 20 years. We've been married for 18. And so when when we got married, we waited 5 years before we had kids. And over that time, we did travels and things like that. But I remember one time when I was first starting to find like I wasn't successful by any means, but I could, you know, see a glimmer of possibility. And so I remember thinking, okay, I need to grind it out now so I have the flexibility later. So I made a pretty early commitment to do the long days and things like that. And I'm not saying that you have to do that, and nowadays I certainly don't, but I made a choice to make that time commitment sacrifice while I had the flexibility. So I put in a lot of time at the beginning to kind of create a foundation for some baseline success. And part of that was because, I grew up lower middle class, alcoholic stepdad, an unstable household. And so it was like, how do I avoid all that? And so I always had that kind of in the back of my mind. And then that was probably the precursor to my entrepreneurial muscle being built. And then when we had kids, it was like, okay, perfect example was probably a couple years ago, which I've since, now age is a funny thing. You get in your 40s and you kind of don't have a choice but to start making changes. So prior to Father Time tapping me on my shoulder, I used to do 5 a.m. mornings a lot. Not because I enjoyed it, but for me it was a prioritization of family. I'm very passionate about entrepreneurship. Um, I think it's my hobby. You remove that, and I'm not particularly um, in love with too many other things with my free time. And so I had a choice, and it's like, okay, if I want to spend more time on these projects that I enjoy doing, it's either before the kids wake up or when they go to sleep. But you never know when your kids are going to sleep. So it's like, okay, if I can't, I could work up late, but that sometimes might take away from time with the kids. They are never going to be up at 5 a.m. So 5 a.m. it is, right? And so it was things like that. And so I did 5 a.m. for, gosh, I don't know, 15 years, something like that. And so, my general routine for the majority of my career has been 5 a.m. to 7 is I'd wake up and I'd get a quick win in, knock out something. It would just seem to set the momentum for the day. And then I'd try to work out because I realized if I didn't work out in the morning, it just wouldn't happen. And so quick win, work out, then depending on how long the workout was, go back and work for another 30, 40, 50 minutes. Then the kids would wake up. So between 7, 7:30 and 9, since I've had kids, has pretty much been, you know, open and chaotic, the non-work time frame. And so I'd be with them. They'd go to school. I'd walk them to school. We drive them to school in the winter, whatever it is. And then between 9 and 3:30, then it was work. And then go pick them up, hang out with them for 30 minutes, and then get in one last hour of work. And then after that, 5 o'clock is when I'd call it a day. Don't work weekends. I don't give clients my cell phone number. Our auto attendant shuts off. You can't get a hold of us. In our contracts, it says we don't check emails, more than once a day. You're not going to get us on the weekends. Don't call us whenever you want. You can schedule it. Um, and I'll kind of pause there because the last thing I just mentioned, I think we could go deeper on, but that's kind of the generalization of what my prioritizations look like.
What I love about how you have this set up is a very intentional. You decided because it is a decision to, I'm a dad now. I mean, quite honestly, it's that saying anybody can be a father, but it takes, some real time and effort to be a dad. And your kids love you because you invest time into them. They love you anyway, but they love you even more when you make the time for them. Like it's shown, it's proven. And your spouse is there as well, and you can invest in that relationship. But what I love that you said here is that, once you became a dad, you realize, do we even sleep? I honestly don't know how we do
Yeah,
this anymore. Dave. Like,
it's
um, 2 nights ago, we've got a kid for every age. That's how it is in our family. So we've got
yeah.
adult children and we have a 1-year-old. And some nights it's like, whoa, we woke up, we slept. That was amazing, right? And other nights you are up at 3 or 4, but it's not to do workout. It's to put the 1-year-old back to bed, or the 3-year-old wants to crawl in your bed. Like there's all sorts of boundary issues and stuff as parents you have to take care of. So I love that you mentioned like, hey, this is the time that I'm going to try to get up and make it happen before they wake up. It's your time. And that you've set your own priorities, health, business, that's not going to then bleed over into the rest of your day. But the other thing you mentioned there is boundaries. I'm big on boundaries. When it
Hmm.
comes to keeping balance, most of the time, people who are yes people, they just allow everything. They allow email to flow in and out. They allow the constant drain and drag on their boundaries to just kind of get blurred. So you're very firm on that, which I think is necessary, is needed, especially in a service-based business. So if you're struggling with keeping this balance, maybe it is boundaries. But why don't you go a little bit deeper and tell us maybe what you were thinking about there of the kind of the why behind that.
Well, the boundaries is huge. It's probably one of the single, but I'm fortunate enough now to have the privilege of mentoring early entrepreneurs, and there's only two things that I see that make or break those that find success and those that don't. One is those that follow the process without deviating, right? Like nearly every business model, every business has a proven model. And so if you just do the boring, repetitive things, you'll find success. So that's one. And then two is boundaries. I talked about how I don't give clients my cell phone number. But you and I, right before we hit record, I had mentioned I only check my emails once a day. And it's funny because I have to massage this into our internal team too. I'm poking my COO a lot lately because, like, when I'm in my inbox, I don't have auto send and receive on either. And so, if I have to hop in there and send a quick message, I don't see 10,000 notifications and get overwhelmed and distracted. So, I manually hit receive when I check my emails that once a day. And I'm teasing him a lot lately because he's about 10 years younger than I am, and he's perpetually optimistic, which he should be. But sometimes I have to match his optimism with reality and be like, dude, stop checking your inbox because I'll email him and he replies to me nearly instantly. And I'm like, what are you doing? And the thing with boundaries and this email thing in particular is you don't realize how big of an interruption that 30-second email is. It's 20 minutes, right? Like there's all sorts of studies that say by the time you see that shiny object, whether it's your email or alerts, like I turn off my alerts on all my apps. I turn off the dot count on the bottom of, notifications for everything on my computer. And so I only see the things when I go in and check the things. Because when you get interrupted, you get distracted and you may or may not gracefully stop where you're at. And then you go do whatever the thing is because you think it's quick, but the 30-second thing really takes 5, 10 minutes. And then after you finish the 5, 10 minute thing, you need like 15 minutes to get back into the right mindset and go, what was I doing? Oh yeah, it was that thing. And then you might think you're actively jumping right back into it, but you're not at full steam. And so when you have, like, if you think about how many things like Slack, email, text, Facebook Messenger, whatever it is, you are zero productive all day with all those interruptions. So, that's one thing. But where this was kind of birthed from was the second to last employer I had is right when smartphones started to come out, or what we would at least consider the initial versions of them. And so I had I don't know if you'll remember the T-Mobile Sidekick. It was the little flip phone, right? The keyboard. And I set up email on it because it was awesome. Like, holy crap, you can have email on your phone. And I was at dinner with my wife, and it was like 6, 7 p.m. on a Friday. So it was after hours on a weekend, and my boss texted me, and so I didn't write back because I was at dinner. And he called me, and I didn't write back because I was at dinner. And then he emailed me, and right then I went, delete, took email off my phone, and I've never had it on my phone since. And so even before I started my own agency, I realized how unproductive and disruptive that was. So that's where it was birthed from, and now I've gotten a pretty good groove. And I think maybe the last comment I'll make is this probably sounds scary, particularly for newer entrepreneurs, like setting boundaries, because it's one of the most common things when I tell people, don't give them your cell phone number. No, no, don't write back. It's Saturday, right? And they go, well, I need to be available. I need to be the better business person. I need to be better than my competition. I need to be constantly available. You don't, because what's going to happen is you're going to set unrealistic expectations of availability. And the old saying, you give them an inch and they'll take a mile kind of thing. And even if your clients don't do it intentionally, or maliciously, it's going to happen. But you what really happens is the opposite. When you set boundaries, like you should see my contract. Travis, when we get off, I should send you a screenshot of my contract. I have a full page that says reasons not to hire us. And in it is everything I don't want to deal with. And it's all the rules of engagement and the expectations I want to set. And when you do that, I get more compliments and deals closed than I get people that speak negatively or scared away. And the one person that runs is exactly the person it was meant to filter out. So it positions you as an authority that's more confident. You free up your time for peace of mind to deliver a better service to your client.
Love it. Yeah, and I'd love to see that. I do the exact same thing in the contract, and I'd love hearing this. I'm just nodding my head. Yes, yes, yes. I literally just got off a group coaching call with some clients, talking to them about boundaries. Right, the reasons why they're not able to be consistent with a lot of the things they're doing is because they are checking their email too much. Like, I teach them how to just check it once a day and process through, and then be done. And it's a hard thing to learn. I think your motivation, I love hearing that story because that's never going to change. Like, you're going to be motivated. Somebody tracking you down after hours at dinner time with your spouse. Some people just say, well, that's just par for the course. That's how we do business. No, 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 no. Maybe that's how you do it, but you're
Mm-hmm.
not going to have time alone with your spouse forever. You're not going to have your kids at home with you forever. This time is valuable. So let's turn our discussion and let's talk about, kind of this real motivation that you have, which is to be with your family. What do you do with this time now that you've created these boundaries, which are beautiful? And I love it. Everything that you said is balanced growth, approved. And I love what you're talking about here. But what do you do? How do you spend your time now that you've got that and you're present and you're with your family?
It's an interesting topic because it changes, and right now it's like in this transition because of the age differences in my kids, and so they all have different needs, and so they're all just a couple years apart, but now that spread is right across, you know, young adult, preteen, and smaller kid, and so I got one person that's independent, one person that is independent but still likes to be around mom and dad, and then one that's just fully dependent on mom and dad. And so when they were all younger, it was anything. It was a lot. Honestly, it was a lot easier because you could do anything. You want to go outside. You want to jump on the trampoline. I built a pool a couple of years ago. Well, let's go hop in the pool. Let's travel, right? Like you could do anything, but now it's a lot. Honestly, it's a lot harder, and it's like one of those phases I'm in right now where it's like I'm trying to figure it out. And with my older kid, what I've realized helps is like I've kind of just thrown in the towel on what I've done or what I want to do, and I'm just like, okay, I just need to lean into what he likes to do. But the way I bridge the gap on the things I like to do is I have him invite a friend. He'll go do cool stuff that dad wants to do if a friend can go. And so now I've learned that's the secret with the older kids. It's like, okay, if I want to take them out for the weekend, hey, you want to invite your friend? Let's go do this thing. And so I was showing you we went skate park hopping, right? And so I said, invite your friend because I just wanted to get out with my kid. But the probability of that happening with a friend was like 90% or plus. Without a friend, it was like 40% or less. Right. So then my middle son, he's kind of in the whatever, I don't know, I don't care phase. And so if I just suggest something, he'll go do it, but it's not always like the most energetic engagement with him. And so I don't know, man. Like with it's like so it's changing. Then with my daughter, I realized, she's the youngest. She'll soon be coming out of that phase. So it's like just do whatever with her. So last night I just went in her room and in her room, she does all this cheerleading and gymnastics and like the aerial silk stuff. And so she has one of those little silk in her room. And so I just was like, "What are you doing? Show me what's new." And I just sat there. I'm like, "I'll take whatever I can get right now." So,
What a great approach. What I'm hearing from you is you're really keen on what's best for each child. And quite honestly, Damon, this is what so many people struggle with when we say, this is how you parent. What is typically lost is that individual child's personality and needs and
yeah.
wants. And like I said, we have a child for every age. So I'm nodding right along with you because I know with my older kids, it's friends, food, and fun.
Hmm.
And it's not necessarily that order, but most of the time it is in that order. It's friends. If they can do anything with them, they will. And if you can help facilitate that, awesome. There are times where, though, I really try to get alone with them, go on a trip or do a bike ride or camping or something just to be alone, alone. And those are some
Hmm.
great times. But I was even pondering this morning how one of our camping trips we did is a bike camp trip. There was another dad and son that came with us, great family. And, there was some alone time in the car, but then there was some camping time, but I kind of made that boundary. They're like, "Hey, can he ride in our car?" I said, "No, like that's it.
Hmm.
That's for us, our time. And then when we're out, you guys can hang out, you can bike ride, we can do whatever together. But let's just chat, alone in the car for 6 hours on our drive." And so I get it. I hear what you're saying. Like that makes a lot of sense. Like, well, bring the friend along. For your youngest kid, just do whatever, be there. And they'll just remember that you were there. They'll remember that you showed up. They'll remember that
Hmm.
dad cared. So I think that's beautiful. Well, how about your sweet wife? What do you guys do that light you up that you're excited about? Like, do you go on trips? Do you guys like to go out to eat? Is there, hobbies that you guys do together? What is it that you like to do to spend time?
So we spent a lot of time together, but we're trying to figure out what that recurring thing is. And part of that is we've done a lot of cool stuff before we had kids, and so we don't have this immediate desire to go do wild things. We were fortunate enough to kind of get that out of our system. And so historically, it's been whatever the kids want to do, right? When we have time with the kids. And now coming off that conversation of the kids do different things now we're going, okay, what is our thing? And so we're trying to figure that out. We're fortunate that I work from home. She gets to stay at home. So we've worked in like Friday morning dates, right? After we drop off our kids, we'll just go do something. We'll just go grab a coffee. We'll just go get out of the house. And then like Wednesdays, we'll try to rotate in anything that we can do together that's pretty passive. So that's usually like a couples massage. And now we're on like I talked about doing skate park hopping. Now we're doing like massage spa venue hopping. So it's like, okay, which one haven't we tried, or which one has something different, like not just a massage? And so it's a little bit tricky because we can't. Our kids are still young enough that we can't just leave, but we also don't have a lot of options for people that can watch them, right? Um, there's all stories between who's available, who's not, whose parents are healthy enough to watch the kids, who's not, who's available, who's not. But between all the dynamics of that, we don't really have a lot of options of who we can leave the kids with. So like our window of isolated time together is a couple hours while they're at school, or when they go to bed. So lately at night, I've given in to, okay, maybe I don't like the rom-coms, but I like sitting next to her. So we do a lot of late night movies. That's been a thing that's just been pretty recent, probably just last 3 or 4 weeks. But yeah, luckily I made an interesting post yesterday that out of the 20 years we've been together, other than 2 or 3 times, like once when I went to the Philippines for a week, a couple miscellaneous trips in between, my wife and kids go everywhere with me. And so in 20 years, probably the first 12 of those 20 years, we were never apart more than 24 hours at any point. And so we work really well just in each other's presence. And some people are going to be like, you're insane. But it's the opposite for us. That's the normal for us.
I love it.
And so we don't have, yeah, we're figuring it out, but at the same time, we don't have a pressing need to feel like we're awkwardly with each other.
It's one thing I mentioned is mix it up. Mix it up. A lot of couples kind of get in a rut of, well, we just go out to dinner or and so life maybe isn't as exciting and different. Like I like that you guys you've picked something. Hey, let's find these massage places and spas and try different things. um I know some couples who they go out and they purposely look for new restaurants, even if they have to drive hours to it, like, or
Hmm.
they like to travel a lot, so they'll find different places to go travel to. But that time alone and creating those memories together is super valuable. We could spend another hour just talking about that and how your that connection is the key. I've seen that as the key, the missing key for long-term balance is how well you and your spouse are actually on the same page together in all things. It starts financially, but it's also your parenting, um, you know um, emotionally, a lot of the things, a lot of the needs and goals and desires. If you're on the same page, that you'll be able to keep your balance, and she'll help you stay balanced, by recognizing when you're stressed or when you need more time, or be able to kind of be the liaison between the kids as things are needed, and dad needs to be in different places. So it sounds like you guys have a really great relationship, and congratulations on 20 years, man. That's big.
Thanks.
It's
Yeah.
huge, and excited for you guys. Damon, if people want to get a hold of you, they want to learn more about working with you, a guy who really does walk the walk on keeping his own balance, keeping those boundaries so that he can help his family to grow and be there as a dad and also help your business. What's the best way? How can they reach out to you?
Super simple. DamonBurton.com. On there, you'll find social media channel links. You'll find if you want to jump down the SEO rabbit hole, you can download my book there for free, but that has all the different options.
Sweet. Thanks for being on the show. Thank you for being willing to open up and tell us about your business, tell us about your life and how you've been able to keep your business growing while keeping that balance. Any
Yeah.
last thing you would like to part with? Any final thoughts or ideas that have come that you wanted to get out here before we wrap up?
What always comes to mind is success is a lot simpler than people think. I think we overcomplicate it, and obviously I'm generalizing quite a bit, but what I've learned, one of the common denominators is really just 2 steps. One is pick a thing that you feel like you can be reasonably passionate about, and then start it and don't stop. It's really that simple. Start a thing and give it enough time to see it come to fruition. Don't stop.
Well, but consistency is key, isn't it?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again. Thank you for being on the show, and thank you everyone else for being here and for listening to our thoughts and ideas. Hopefully, it's been helpful for you. Until next time, live life on purpose.